Gary, are we rolling? Thumbs up. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Ridgecrest City Council. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. with roll call.
Mayor Bruin.
Here.
Mr. Blades.
Present.
Mr. Rajaratnam.
Present.
Mr. Heyman. Present. Ms. Breeden. Present. 5 present. We have a quorum.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda for this evening. Is there any changes or amendments, or do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So I was going to ask, and I asked Rick, and I think I already got my answer, but I just want to bring it up for the council. I was hoping to debrief and discuss with the council about how the water district meeting went, my proposal, answers back, et cetera. Is there a specific spot we're going to do? I think the last discussion was to have it at the end, is what Rick has said. We would do it at
Under
the
discussions and
under
board
discussions and
comments.
boards.
In other committees, boards, or commissions, we'll go ahead and have your report out, and then if necessary, then we'll add it as a discussion item on the next agenda. With the holiday and how things got scheduled out, the agenda's release date, we didn't add it as a discussion item. So if there's a greater discussion to be had following your report, then we can schedule it onto the October meeting as necessary.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, we all asked the same question. Okay.
Other than I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I have a motion and a second.
Second. Please vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Come on, little buddy.
And it's
Come on.
Kyle.
And
Kyle
5
by
ayes, motion
nose.
carries.
Kyle by nose. Okay. We'll now go ahead and adjourn into closed session. This is in regards to conference with real property negotiator, and we will be returning to regular session at 6 p.m. See you soon. Thank you, sir. Okay. Good evening. We're now going to come back out of closed session. We will go ahead and begin by asking everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Salma, if you'd like to lead us.
Sure. Please join me in prayer if you could. Lord, thank you for giving us this day. Lord, thank you for this beautiful city of Ridgecrest where we live in and cherish. Lord, as we observed the 20th anniversary of 9/11 attacks, Lord, I pray for the families who lost their loved ones during that terrorist attack. Lord, I ask for your protection over our country. Lord, I ask for your protection for our troops who are in harm's way, who are seeking freedom for many countries elsewhere. Lord, I pray for all of them. I pray for the firefighters who are fighting the fire battles, protect them from their fires, and for all the people who lost their belongings. Lord, be with them, give them your comfort. I pray for the healthcare workers who are working day and night to serve the COVID patients along with other patients, Lord. They're stressed out. Give them your comfort. Give them your strength, Lord. Be with us during this meeting. Bless each one of us who are present here. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Okay. So first item is City Attorney Report out of closed session.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council members. One item was considered by the Council. It was conference with the real property negotiator, and no reportable action was taken by the Council.
Thank you, sir. We have a couple presentations this evening. If I could ask my fellow council members to join me at the podium. Peg, I think you're good right there, okay? Thank you, hon. We have proclamation, we have life-saving awards, right, too. Where are the other awards? Jed has them. So Jed will be making that presentation. Yes. Thank you. So I guess I could have just done the proclamation from the podium. But come on, everyone. There's
recipients here.
There's extra blank. Darla, no pictures today. I'm not properly dressed. I'm already embarrassed as it is. So the first item we have today is a proclamation, and this is in recognition of Constitution Week 2021. And I'll go ahead and read it quickly, which is a proclamation of the City of Ridgecrest, California, Constitution Week 2021. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule by law. And whereas September 17th, 2021, marks the 234th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, we, the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest and the State of California, do hereby proclaim that September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Proclaimed this 15th day of September 2021, the City Council of Ridgecrest. I also happen to think September 17th is a fantastic day of the year for personal reasons. Okay. And then, you want a picture with this? Or? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up. I didn't know who, I apologize. I didn't know the group that I was recognizing. I didn't know which group it was that I was recognizing because it doesn't know it's Daughters of the American Revolution. It's Daughters of the American Revolution that have requested the proclamation. And if I can have us come on up here, I apologize. I didn't know it was the air. No, I'm hiding. Remember, I got to have my head jacket on. Thank you, guys. Sorry if my joke made no sense, but September 17th is my birthday, so that's why I always get to celebrate Constitution signing every year. Okay, Jed, where are you at, sir? Where's Jed? Or is it Aaron? Are you doing it? Okay. Aaron, were you the tallest guy on the gazebo this weekend? Easily.
If I can have Officer Andrew Honey come down here, please. We're presenting a life-saving award to him.
No rush.
Don't have to run. All right. On 5/9/2021, Officer Andrew Honea was dispatched to a possible overdose. He arrived on scene within minutes and found an unresponsive adult male. The occupants in the residence were attempting CPR. However, it was ineffective. Officer Honey conducted his initial assessment and found the subject was not breathing, did not have a pulse. He began life-saving measures and performed CPR on the subject. Officer Honey continued CPR until emergency medical services arrived on scene. Shortly after their arrival, Officer Honey was able to locate a pulse, and the subject began breathing on his own. During the incident, Officer Honey learned that the subject had possibly overdosed on fentanyl, a dangerous opiate. Officer Honey is to be commended for his life-saving efforts that no doubt saved the subject's life. Great job. Thank you for what you do. Speech? No? Okay.
Can I have Officer Mike Ogos to the stage? Again, I know.
That's what I love hearing.
Yes. So Officer Ogos is going to be receiving an award on behalf of the Ridgecrest Police Department and MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Every year, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving gives out awards based on officers, their stops, their DUIs they make, and taking impaired drivers off the road. And during the year 2020, Officer Ogos took 59 subjects that were impaired under the influence off the road, which is an impressive number for that. He's probably one of the hardest working guys on the force, and we have some hard working guys and girls there, and he's up there when it comes to taking DUIs. So on behalf of Matt and the Ridgecrest Police Department, appreciate your hard work, big guy. Speech?
No speeches. Apparently the caravan at office. It is. But we're very safe this evening. For 5 minutes, then they're out.
Yeah, they'll all leave. Tony Malone, would you come up? Yeah. So this one's very special. This just goes to prove what kind of community we have and the citizens around within our community. So officers were dispatched to a medical aid call for a subject not breathing. Sergeant Tony Brown and Officer Corey Rinaldi found the subject in medical distress as Tony Malone was performing CPR. Upon KCFD and Liberty's arrival, they immediately relieved Mr. Malone and continued life-saving measures. Subject was transported to ROH and then transported to Palmdale. The subject is currently resting comfortably at his home. This subject suffered what is called sudden cardiac death, which is fatal 99% of the time. If it were not for Mr. Malone's actions, he would not be with his family today. So this man is to be commended for what he did, and thank you for your dedication and immediate response.
Thank you.
Mike's all yours, sir.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm a Navy vet. A lot of awards. Oh, okay, to the right. I'm a Navy vet, so a lot of awards, right? But nothing better than getting this. Dennis is here. Every time I see Dennis, we're like kids now because he's here. His wife came and got me. She was depending on me. So the 911 operator was like, who's doing all that yelling? Because I'm like, Dennis! Dennis! But one of the outstrokes, he took a deep breath. Okay, you're back. Then he went out again, but we got him back. So Dennis is here. I have this to put on my I love me wall. I love my community. I love my neighbors. Scott lives next door. Life is great. Life is great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Can we have all the award winners come on back down?
All righty. Okay, everybody, one more thing. I can't tell you, but the Great Light Fight is coming to Ridgecrest for Christmas. And you don't know that, okay? I didn't tell anybody. But I love Ridgecrest, so a filming crew is coming. We got to get on TV for something other than earthquakes. All righty. Yep, you didn't hear that from me. Okay, yeah.
He's the humble one. It's in the eyes. We're gonna have to get Mike a bigger house for all these awards. Absolutely no better feeling than walking in and being able to celebrate a citizen saving the life of another citizen within our community. Tony, you're a model, and thank you. That was awesome. Okay, next is public comment. Public comment of items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not take action on any item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section is limited to 1 hour, and each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. I will go ahead and begin with phone first tonight. Do I have any callers on the phone? Seeing none, do I have any speakers from the floor? Just had to break it, didn't you, Scott? We almost got out with 0. Almost.
Evening, Council. Scott Miller, 341 East Wilson. Thank you again, Tony, a brother-in-law that he gave CPR to and brought back. It just got really loud. I'm not sure whose jurisdiction this is, but during the 1,000 flags, I noticed something unusual on our patrol cars and our fire trucks, and it caught me off guard. We have In God We Trust on there, that came out a couple years ago, but in a military town with our number of law enforcement and fire personnel, something I noticed that's not on our trucks or on any of our city vehicles or police department is nothing in remembrance of 9/11. Just a little sticker saying, never forget. I see them in other counties and other divisions, but I was surprised not to see that in Ridgecrest, in such a military town. Just a little sticker, just never forget, Twin Towers, something like that. I just wanted to bring that to council's attention and other people's attention that we have other things on there, but nothing to bring back and make sure that we don't forget 9/11. It was 20 years ago, and there are people today that obviously weren't around 20 years ago that didn't impact their lives as much as it did, I'm going to say, all of ours. So that's all. Again, thank you, council. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Scott.
So do we want to discuss that at some point?
I think it's an idea that's worth.
Is there a committee we can bring it back to, or?
I think we maybe find out from Jed what the number and cost might be, and see what his thoughts are. Just get Jed's input at a future meeting.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Scott. Okay. Any other public comment from the floor? I do see the public comment came in on the phone. I'm going to go ahead and receive that one. Caller, state your name.
Yes, my name is Mike Neal. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, just to talk about a few things that the city itself spurred on, which I'd first like to say it does me no end of pleasure not to see Keith Lemieux up there tonight, although I'm sure he'll be back. The gentleman that's there is with his law firm, so unfortunately we don't have a different law firm. However, he spurred off a big controversy at the last city council meeting, and that got so much interest going that the water district responded and kind of not in kind, but they responded and decided to discuss it at Monday's Water District meeting, of which 3 of you were there. A rare occurrence for even more than one council member to be at a Water District meeting. Basically, during that meeting, the Water District attorney pinned back Keith Lemieux's ears to no doubt with fact about what all, in response to all of the accusations, lies, and fantasies that were in the 5-page staff report about how terrible the Water District was because they were trying to manipulate situations and didn't want to finance the replenishment fee. Another thing that repeated itself again at the Water District meeting, that was Mr. Blades making sure that everyone knew that he stands behind his staff. He said it at the last council meeting. He made sure he said it at the Water District meeting. In opposing view to that, Mr. Griffin at the Water District meeting said that if their attorney had written a similar type of letter to what Mr. Lemieux had written about the Water District, he would move for his dismissal. But yet we have Water City Council members emphasizing 2 times in a row they stand behind them. They don't do anything at all about the city slandering the Water District. Just need to remind you people, you both represent the same, almost exactly the same populace. When your city attorney attacks the Water District, he attacks all the people that are represented in that Water District. Let me tell you, the Water District clearly represents people much better than I've seen this council do. They listen. They don't limit them to 5 minutes on discussion items. They want to hear what they have to say. And when you say, we stand as a united front as a council, think about that for a minute. That's basically a term of war, where you go into a war front with allies and you want to present a united front. Why are you presenting a united front against your citizens in favor of your city staff? When your city staff pulls egregious errors like what happened at the last city council meeting, and you stand and say, I stand behind my staff, you align yourself with those same things. So if you want to say that you don't mind maligning the Water District and the subsequent members of the public represented by that Water District, that continue on. But I think you've got the totally wrong view about what you're supposed to be about. You're supposed to be about representing the people of this town. California law says you're instruments of the will of the people. You're not up there to go against everybody, us evil citizens out here, in shoulder-to-shoulder fashion with your staff, who has screwed up multiple times over the years and have always seemed to talk council members into this same kind of attitude, that we can't let anybody see us say anything about what the staff does. They always have to appear right in our eyes before the public. Well, you're not fooling anybody. You didn't fool anybody at the last council meeting. Keith Lemieux screwed up, and you should be brought up for discussion about dismissing him. And when you say, I stand behind that, well, we're going to have trouble standing behind you if that's got to be the case. And it's so sad to say, because up to this point, I thought maybe we had a few council members who were for the people, but I now seriously begin to wonder about that. And a lot of us are just not interested in participating in these meetings because you're with your staff. You're not with us. You're saying it over and over again. And that makes people decide, why bother? They're going to do what they're going to do. They don't want to listen to us. They're all some united little entity up there. They decide what they want to do before they come to the meeting, and it doesn't matter what we have to say. If that's the way you want it, you can have it that way, but it's not going to be very satisfying for you.
Thank you, sir. Do I have any other public comment on the phones? Okay, moving on. We'll go ahead and move on to council announcements. Any council announcements? I don't want to be the one that steals the thunder from all of us because I know we all feel the same way, but if there's ever something you need to point to and say that is the heart and soul of this community, it was last Saturday. It was beautiful. Surprisingly to myself, that was the first time I had ever actually participated in the parade in the 17 years I had lived in this community, which is, I feel sad and disappointed in myself that I had not come out sooner. But it was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful, just to see the crowd out and to see the community out in force. It was wonderful. So all I'm going to say is it was very much a proud moment to be out there as a representative, and I was humbled by it. And I think that's all that needs to be said, other than Ridgecrest will never forget.
I really want to say I really appreciate Congressman Kevin McCarthy, Senator Shannon Grove, and Assemblyman Vince Fong, and District Attorney Cindy coming here, taking the time to be with us. They could have done something in Bakersfield or in some other bigger cities, but they have shown interest in Ridgecrest, and they have taken the time to come. So I really want to thank them and appreciate their support to our community and for the 20th 9/11 observation we had. Thank you.
Two things real quick. It's not necessarily Ridgecrest itself, but the greater the community. So up in Randsburg, they're going to have the Old West Days. I think that's this weekend. This coming up weekend has been a lot of work.
Saturday and Sunday this weekend.
Yeah, they've done I guess Mr. Shotwell's done most of the work to get that. Mr. and Mrs. Shotwell have done a lot of work to get that together. So if you're not out of town, that's the place to be, I would say. The others, I want to make sure we give a kudos to the staff for their continued outreach on the website, on social media, and they recently came up with an interactive map for all new developments, and I thought that was nice, because that's a constant question from the community. What's going in here? What's going in there? What's being worked on? What are the dates even? And so now we have something like that that's out. It's out there on the website, and you can find it pretty quickly through social media if you go looking for it.
Scott?
I have no comments.
I just wanted to say this is the first year I have not been able to participate in that, and I sat at home thinking of the great joy that the rest of you had, and so I shared in it vicariously, and thank everybody for all the hard work of making it happen, participating, and then taking it all down. So thank you all.
We switched roles literally in so many ways.
Real quick, Mayor Bruin, I wanted to add that I think we've said it prior meetings, but it isn't just the interactive map, but we also have now a report a pothole button.
Report a pothole.
And also there is a reach your rep button.
Reach your rep, and then we have a weekly notification of what's going on, roads that they're posting on social media every week, what roads are being worked on this week. And
I believe they're also discussing having a link to the city council meetings as well, right there on the front page. So,
yeah, I
just wanted to keep. I think it's been said. I just want to keep putting it out there.
The communication efforts of the staff continue to move in the. I want it to sound like it's moving in the direction this council has asked for, and we greatly appreciate it. The only other thing I forgot to mention from council announcements is, if you happen to have a child, boy or girl, ages 5 to 11, and you're interested in scouting, I know that the local PAC 341 is holding a scouting carnival on Sunday, free to the public. And for those of you that are big fans of me, I will be sitting in a dunk tank. It's free. If you want to come out and throw a baseball at me, have at it. I'll welcome you. I'll do it with a smile, and because it's for the kids of our community, and that's what really matters. At the Desert Empire Fairgrounds, from 12 to 4 at the fairgrounds. They're going to be setting off rockets and doing Pinewood derbies, and not that I'm involved at all in any way, shape, or form. That's how they talked me into the dunk tank. Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired, the item will be removed and listed in sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the council concerning the item before action is taken. I will read the one item, which is to approve the draft minutes of the Ridgecrest City Council dated September 1st, 2021, which I'm surprised was as short as it was after 6.5 hours. Do any members of the council wish to have an item pulled? Does any member of the public wish to have an item pulled? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Cal, you won the first one.
Race is on.
Wow.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Okay. Okay, next item, and our only item on the agenda this evening, we hope to get everyone home at a reasonable hour, is item number 4. This is a resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council declaring its intention to vacate a portion of the South Downs Street right-of-way pursuant to the provisions of Part 3 of Division 9 of the California Streets and Highway Code, and the announcement of a public hearing on October 20th for the proposed street vacation. And where are they going on vacation? I'm just playing Mr. Reed.
Good evening, Council. Real quick, just to kind of go back to your communication effort, I just wanted to make one little quick comment on that. We actually got some really good feedback from one of the members of the public with us starting our slurry program up this week, asking if we could please move the date we put this out to the Thursday before the week coming, so the people that need to move their cars have a little more warning as to when they need to have their cars moved. And
next week coming.
Correct. So we're going to try to move that to the Thursday before, and at least when we're doing slurry work and prep work, it just seems to make a little more sense. So,
since I know this is informal and you shared an informal statement, I'm going to just everybody who hasn't heard the story about the magnet is doing a great job around town.
So are the tires on the truck that are towing the magnet,
and that's why we know it's doing a better job. Okay.
So anyways, back to the topic at hand. So as you can see, we are looking at a portion of right-of-way on South Down Street. It lies in between Wasp Avenue and Bataan Avenue. From what I could gather based on my research on the prior maps, at one point they believed Down Street would be viewed as a public highway rather than a major arterial. But as we can see by the build-out of Downs, both northerly and southerly of it, it's being basically classified as a major arterial. That could be the only reason why I think that we could explain why we took an offer of dedication of 95 feet originally, was because we thought we were going to need more than 2 lanes on that road, which now, with the previous vacation via Resolution 11-92, we basically gave back 38 feet of that, so we have a 59-foot right-of-way up there, and I couldn't find, the assessor's map shows that the northeast corner of Coral and Downs had been vacated. It's not shown on this map because I couldn't find the resolution, but after this was prepared and so graciously considered by Rika, I got to I did some more research and I actually found a resolution. Still doing some research as to if it was done correctly, so I'm including that parcel in this announcement for public hearing in case I do need to do some work on that. So we had 2 homeowners that came to us requesting the vacation of this right-of-way. Currently, we have been trying to maintain it, but it's obviously a low priority. It had some weeds. One of the owners had called us and asked if we could clear it, so we went out and spent 3 hours, cleared it. We had another developer ask if we could vacate it so they could build a house. After discussing it with some other staff, there was a great suggestion that was brought up by Ms. Spurlock about how if we don't vacate this or we don't allow access to Downs and we don't do a couple things, that we would have a 5-foot setback on that right-of-way. There's a lot, as you can see in that map, that is in between the 2 lots, and that's, if you look at it, it's in between Coral and Wasp, and it would severely impact their vision backing out of that driveway. So that was kind of why we came to the conclusion that maybe vacating this, allowing that lot to have have access to downs is probably in our best interest. Obviously, we were going to follow the vacation process. After this staff report was prepared, I was intending to proceed with a regular full vacation. I got word back from council, and council told us that we could go ahead and do this summarily. So we are going to begin following the summarily procedure to summarily vacate that portion. And with that said, any questions that you guys may have, I am open for them.
I have questions, but I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go from Peggy first, see if they get answered, and we'll go from there.
I have none, thank you.
Okay.
Not at this moment.
Okay, well, got to the halfway point. So what happens to the land when we vacate it?
So essentially what's going to happen is after this meeting, it's more of a formality meeting now that we can summarily vacate it. We still do need to set a public hearing. That's what we're basically requesting tonight, is that we are going to state our intent to vacate and that we want to set a public hearing date so we can hear anybody that has any comments on this.
Go further down the line.
Yeah. So
what happens to it?
So essentially what happens with it is by us vacating this land, for lack of a better term, it goes back to the fee owner of this land. So the fee owner of this land could be the current resident, could be the people that developed the tract, but that is not of the city's interest right now because all we are doing is vacating our claim to that right. It is then up to the homeowners or the people in which that property fronts to consult with their title company to figure out who has fee ownership of that land. I will say this, typically in all the other vacations I've been involved with, that portion usually typically follows whoever has current ownership of that land. So it will essentially just move the property line, or for lack of a better term, the right-of-way line out to whatever line we decide to designate to keep. So the northern portion up there by Bataan, as you can see, is 59 feet. After review of the map that was prepared for that, they kept 4 feet more than we would typically keep because there was a telephone line, a comm line that was put in that was 4 foot outside of where that easement was. So we wanted to make sure that the comm lines were actually in public space rather than in private property. So that'll be what the next portion of our process is. We are going to notify utilities, ask them if they have anything within this portion, gather comment back, take this to Planning Commission, make sure it meets our general plan requirements, the circulation element, get an environmental statement on it, and then it will come back to you guys, should we so wish, to announce our intent to vacate and set a public hearing to actually officially vacate it. And then once we have officially vacated, we will file and record all the necessary documents, at which time the city of Ridgecrest will no longer have a senior right to that area in question.
Okay. Number two. What's driving this?
So the drive behind this is it's basically kind of been I'm going to say it's been a personal pet peeve of mine that we have a whole bunch of excess right-of-way in multiple places. That is an eyesore, one. It is additional work for our streets crews that they already don't need. They have plenty of other things that they could maintain. And we had one homeowner contact us about vacating their portion, at which time our workload, I felt that we were too tasked at the time to be able to complete the vacation. And then we had a second homeowner come back to us and ask and request for this same portion. So I made it abundantly clear that if we are going to do this, I want to do it all one time and be done with this so we don't ever have to revisit this area again. And they obliged to that. So that is how we are proceeding, and that's officially what's driving it, is homeowner request.
And also just one more thing to add is because we've already vacated one of the easements, it basically makes that property not functional anyway.
Correct.
In other words, we couldn't widen the road, we couldn't use it because we've already vacated
a previous action basically should have done all of it.
Right in the middle of it, we've already vacated it. So we've basically taken away all the functionality and use of that land for the city purpose anyway.
That makes sense. And additionally, it looks like you have at least two homeowners that have already built on the easement.
Correct.
That essentially
Correct.
this is cleanup work. What's driving it is there was an action taken years ago that vacated one little corner for somebody special, whatever reason, who cares, whatever it was.
92 and 05. And what
happened is now that without that piece, there's no purpose in owning all the other pieces. Okay.
100% true.
And once you gave up one, you have other people say, well.
And two other people in the process built stuff on it. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
So, yeah, and I, like I said, without being able to find the resolution to substantiate what I saw on an assessor's map, I wasn't willing to show that as vacated on my map that I created for you guys. So, but if you actually look at the northern property just north of Coral Avenue, that is already vacated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
when you see the homes, the only other thing I was going to mention is I appreciate the scope map, but I will also tell you that I really would love to see the satellite side of the comparison sometimes. Because
absolutely, I can.
That's
do that
what I did
sure.
immediately. Is I wanted to see. Wait, hold on. There's something else going on here. And as soon as I saw the two houses, I went, plus
yeah,
this, plus that. The story all came together. So, okay, I'm satisfied. Son?
One question: does it go to Planning Commission before it comes to us on the 20th of next month, or?
Yes, sir. So it has to follow a very specified procedure portion. I want to say it's 8230 or 8330 of the Streets and Highways Code. I'm sorry, it's in my staff report somewhere.
That's okay.
But
8320.
There's very specialized procedures that happens with it. You have a non-summary vacation process, and then you have a summary vacation process. The summary vacation process is a lot simpler than the non-summary, and there's certain circumstances that dictate what you can do, what you can't do. And like I said, this is more of a formality now, because technically we could have taken it to Planning Commission, put out a public notice for a public hearing, and summarily vacated it. But I didn't know at the time what way we were going to be able to do it, so I wanted to proceed worst case scenario. And hey, we're just announcing it if we decide to hold a public hearing now, so more notice is better than less notice, I guess.
Thank you.
So I think you answered all my questions. It seems like the juice is worth the squeeze that you're putting in your staff hours. Yeah. Because you're putting in a lot of work, I'm guessing, to get all this done. But in the end, it's worth it. That's your opinion?
I would say it's worth it, especially since the two that are requesting this obliged with with vacating all of it and aiding with us in getting the required plats and maps and descriptions for that. So,
as well as the relief to your
streets crew for maintenance on it.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, the rest of my questions were answered. Thank you.
May I ask a question? You referred that there was numerous others in the city where this is. Are you researching all those?
Yes, so we actually, you guys actually had a resolution where we hired Hamner Jewell for consultant services for right-of-way acquisition, right-of-way vacation, things like that. The whole Bowman corridor is essentially a mess from China Lake Boulevard all the way to Guam. When the state came through and took 200 feet of that for a state highway 212. It essentially cut off, if you've noticed the heights, a lot of the heights is built out, but nothing on Bowman structurally has been built. Well, that is because those lots are no longer legal lots because they don't meet the minimum lot requirement. So our staff is currently looking at how we can address that and fix that and eventually make those lots buildable. So that way we don't have this vacant area for years to come. So,
is that a change to our general plan?
That's a good question. I don't know for sure if it's a change to our general plan.
Ron's saying no.
No,
so,
but
okay.
it's like I said, it was one of those ones that the state took it, abandoned their plans to put a highway through there, gave it back to the city. So now it's up to the city to clean it up and figure out what we want to do with it. And it's one of those projects that, we'll deal with that next year. Oh, we'll deal with that next year. So we just hasn't really been, until we have a full build out of the channel, it's pretty hard to figure out what you want to do with it. And I know we're moving in the direction of we want to start, in our vision to start working on that channel, and the time may be approaching that we can actually address some of the right-of-way issues. We've got a couple other right-of-way issues on Upjohn. Where else do we have? Sierra View in between Ridgecrest Boulevard and Church. There's some right-of-way issues there. So there's some multiple places that staff is looking at to try to better accommodate the city with right-of-way and the owners of parcels being able to build and having legal access and things like that of that nature. So,
thank you. I just had a question. I think it was answered with the satellite image that the mayor had on the any improvements like curb and gutter. It looks like those have been done in this instance.
Correct. Most all the improvements as far as curb and gutter, I can't say for sure without going back and revisiting it if all the sidewalks in. I think the majority of it's in, but that is built at the standard 45-foot off center line for a major arterial all the way up.
So in the event that the owner, that property goes back to them, are they then responsible for the curb and gutter and improvements on it then?
I'm going to say it's not behind a block wall. It's per the Streets and Highways Code. There's a little bit of gray area there, but it can be deemed to be either homeowner or city, depending on which way you view that. But it would pick up some of that. They would be, technically there's no wall there. So that's a tough question. I'd have to take that and seek some other opinions to see who technically would be responsible for it.
I think it'd be worthwhile looking into to figure out,
who's responsible for maintaining it.
Or not just maintaining it, but putting it in if it's not presently in any of these.
Yeah, I think it's
all in on this one, but you're talking about other vacant or
I think for the lot that they are trying to build on, the one that's the southernmost on Wasp right there. They actually already went in and pulled some sidewalk out to replace it because it had ramps that wouldn't conform to ADA, and they were going to pour curb and gutter back and do stuff. So of the one that I could think of the major problems, they're already in the process of fixing it. So I don't want to say it's a moot point, but like I said, I just couldn't remember if it was all in. And if it's all in, I think we're
all the way up to that undeveloped portion north of Baton. The curb and gutter appears to be in. Sorry, everything appears to be in up to the northern point of Baton that's been developed.
And I will say this, that is as far as that 95-foot right-of-way goes. So
is to Baton.
Is to Baton.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question too, but it seemed pretty clear that it by the age of the home that was developed on the corner of Baton and Downs, that the easement didn't exist at that stage.
Yep. So that was actually, like I said, you can see it by resolution in '92. They got rid of that northerly corner.
So, okay. Any other questions? Okay. Do I have a motion for approval of the staff recommendation for the resolution and to announce a public hearing for the proposed street vacation?
So moved.
Second.
I'm betting on Peggy. It was great. Came out of my mouth before.
Thank you.
Yeah, satellite imaging just always helps, Trav, just because there's so much more you get. The satellite and the track map both help visualize it.
That's my survey, right?
Yeah. But I mean, also for people that are watching online or stuff like that, the visualization. Your slides were readable. I mean, you kept it to one, and that helped. Okay, next on the agenda is committee reports. Economic development.
We did meet. We met on the 8th. So it was three discussion items: strategic planning for ICSC conference, HTL consultant update, and then staff updates. Most of the staff updates have been now summarized on that interactive map. And it was basically just talking about what's coming in, what's going, so on and so forth. You guys all know that. The public is now very aware of that. I could maybe try to go through those real quick.
I was just curious whether I made an assumption, and then somebody said something to me today, and it blew my assumption out of the water. Is the KFC development that we have listed on there, is that a escrow purchase of the existing property or a redevelopment of the property?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I did not ask that question. I don't have the answer.
My understanding is it's the owner of the property that is becoming a KFC franchise. I could be mistaken, but that's my understanding at this point.
Then that one most likely wouldn't be a redevelopment. It would be just a remodel and reorganization. Okay, thank you. Just was listed. I didn't know whether we had somebody coming into buying the land and we were going to be looking at a joint parking lot there with Dutch as it was building out, or I made a bunch of assumptions. Somebody said,
No, I wondered the same myself. Great question. Thanks. We mentioned, and we'll come up with in the future meetings, a plan for how we want to go about ICSC. I think we'll know more the closer we get. We'll know who's going to be there, who won't be there. We'll see how COVID restrictions apply. So there wasn't too much. We spent a lot of time talking, but probably not. Probably you guys don't want to. Not much to report out on, to be honest with you. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Parks and Rec, quality of life. That's you and I, Scott. You want to do the report or me?
Let you.
Okay. Why not? I keep talking. Quality of life met on 9/7. A fairly routine meeting, but some great nuggets out of it. So the things that I would report back on are still no news on SPP. Waiting patiently. We think November at this stage. That's what Narissa's betting on. The gyms and things are open. The Carnegie Center is being very well rented out. They're still looking at ARP items to consider. They're doing a lot of legwork getting ready for our ARP town hall, because they certainly have a laundry list of things to discuss with this council and discuss in terms of possible places for investment. The one decision that was made, and I fully support staff's decision on this, was that we will not be doing a trunk or treat here for 2021. They cited staff concerns. I happen to agree with them. I think that the trunk and treat is a spectacular community event. It needs about another 16 years of happening to ever match the parade, but it has that type of great community feel to it. But if we can't do it right, I honestly believe it's better for us to not do it at all, because there is such an expectation on what we've done before. And I think this year, with the staffing challenges and her still trying to get restaffed, and God forbid, a week from now, another new COVID change comes down, and we got to go through the process of booking, canceling. It didn't weigh out in terms of value. We are still doing a movie in the park that night, correct? The 23rd, is that correct? 29th. We are still doing a movie in the park, and we have a movie in the park coming up September 24th or 25th? Okay, 24th. That's the Friday night, correct? With How to Train Your Dragon 3. Make sure we get the 3 in there. And outside of that, the one thing I wanted to mention was the really good comment that really sprung from the citizenship. And that was, we had a parent that came out and talked to us about the skate park, and they offered something that I hadn't heard before in regards to the skate park, which was part of the animosity and some of the teenage angst that's happening when they're there is because they're sitting on the actual obstacles. And so if somebody's trying to practice their ollie or half pipe or whatever, and somebody is sitting on the obstacle they're trying to use, it becomes, get out of my way. I mean, come on, we've all been teenagers. Come on, we've all been there. We know it doesn't take a lot. And it shined a light on the problem from a different perspective. And I want to thank Chris for bringing that to us, because sometimes I think people don't understand that we may not have a perspective. I've walked by the skate park probably 20 times. Have I ever ridden a skateboard since I was 12 years old? No. And so I need perspective, and I wanted to thank him for that. I think that was what was great, and that led to a discussion about the possibility, if we start talking about the Clean California initiative, I believe it's called, and some other things at the CDBG, things in the future that can be looked at. maybe a gazebo-type seating, like what we have at the splash pad, on the high side of the skate park, between the fields and the skate park, might serve to act as a way to buffer that, might have a way to provide both that seating, but also, hey, if you want to just go off and talk, teenagers, go over there and talk, get off the obstacle, so that we don't have some of the fighting and infighting. And it just led to good discussion. That's what I was really saying, is citizens' input sometimes leads to fantastic discussion. Did I miss anything?
On the drinking fountain issue, there was some issues in regards to maintenance of the water fountains and whether some worked out in the parks, and so the parks has gone out and checked the water fountains and maintenance those that were not flowing well or needed some attention, and so that was completed, and so I think we're in pretty good shape there, and I think that just about covered it.
Very
Do you have
good
anything
meeting.
you'd like to add, Narissa? Did we forget anything? Okay.
Okay. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Next is the RACVB, and that's Megan's going to come on up. My pants are still dirty.
Yes, so that's actually a good lead-in. It was a fun meeting today. We actually had our meeting over at the new California Welcome Center, so Eric got a little dirty. Obviously, he was very busy. So it was good. They will actually be closing their main office as of today, so they're going to just focus on getting the California Welcome Center up to speed. They should still be available to contact, but that office will be closed as of today. Another thing, for the California Welcome Center, they're really moving forward with getting everything set up. So the virtual reality exhibit, and we'll have two different experiences, a Death Valley experience as well as a petroglyph experience. So that's going to be kind of cool. Looking forward to that. And then they're also going to have a film exhibit featuring some locations of note, trying to tie in the filming industry with the tourism industry and kind of making those filming locations kind of hot spots for, hey, you like the Star Wars franchise or anything like that, this is where it was filmed. So kind of trying to tie those two things in together. They're focusing on that. They'll also have a display about local history, and it looks like it's shaping up to be a really, really nice center. So they're really focusing on that right now. They will be bringing their ARP funding proposal to City Council on October 6th, where they'll be making their request. So that is another thing to look forward to. And then the last thing I really had that I want to focus on is the Sports Commission has been working really hard on recruiting events. So they had a couple different off-roading events that's scheduled in August 2021 for night racing. And they plan on continuing those events and presentations through 2022. So hopefully that'll be an ongoing kind of relationship we have with DP4 Racing. And then another big tournament that they're working on are the softball tournaments. So the Sports Commission's taken a really big lead on sponsoring those events. They're going to be paying the rent for the field so that the tournaments can focus on recruitment of people, bringing people into the community who spend money here and stay here. So it's been a really good boon for our tourism industry. So they have two events scheduled for the weekend, September 18th to 19th and October 2nd to 3rd. And again, we just the Sports Commission is doing a great job with that outreach. So just wanted to go mention that again. Other than that, we just another standard meeting. Eric was there. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add, if I missed anything.
Space is beautiful. I mean, it's coming along quick. Looks great inside. I think when they're done, it will be a true showcase of everything that is about our community, from its history, its culture, its tourism, its proximity to things. They had a couple pieces up there, and I could easily see how when you walk in, it's gonna really shine as far as how our community looks to somebody coming in who knows nothing about Ridgecrest and how they experience it. They're doing little things. I made a suggestion to them that I think was they talking about being able to FedEx retail stuff, being able to provide a way for people to buy stuff and they'd ship it. And I said, if you're going to do that, then up the ante, bring in some high-end things. Skip, I specifically called you out this morning. You weren't there, but I said, his little road runners, you put a couple of those in a digital catalog that says, contact the metal artist for a larger piece and we'll ship it directly to your home. I said, no better way to stimulate local economy and to support our local businesses than highlighting our local artists by putting the smaller pieces out while giving them the opportunity to buy the bigger pieces. And I said, showcase Zables and showcase some of these things that are part of what our culture is, especially, like I said, I mentioned the metal art. So that was about all I had. Trying to bring you some business, Skip.
Were there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, other committees, boards, or commissions? Kyle, we know you're going here, but we're going to let you go last.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because we know you're coming. The only other one, did anybody else attend any others since the last meeting? I attended the East Current Economic Alliance with Mr. Janik and Megan. It was a nice opportunity to get to meet people and to talk to some of the people, especially the Tehachapi crew that was there. Got to tell you, my gut impression, whether it gets me in trouble or not, was I remain impressed by the amount of things that Tehachapi is doing with its size population compared to what we're capable of doing with our size population. And if we started to work on some of those things, it was a Thursday afternoon. They had a street fair set up running on that Thursday afternoon while advertising for a farmer's market. And I stopped and ate. And if you've never been at the Red House, fantastic barbecue over there. But the whole point was they're constantly focused on that tourism aspect. And I just, again, shout out to them. Very impressed with everything they're working on, and their organics waste project that they're working on. It would be a true boon to the county and to all the communities that are going to need organics solutions. So that was the primary presentation. So very interesting. Not a whole lot to bring back to Ridgecrest. It was nice to have three of us there because we were able to talk a bunch about everything going on. And thank you for being there. And it was great up until the moment you walked out the door and you picked up your cell phone and saw an executive order. So other than that, Kyle, it's all you.
Okay, yeah, so I guess other boards, committees, and commissions. Well, I attended the Water District meeting to express upon them our priorities as the City Council. You guys all asked me to go. Let me rephrase. I volunteered to go. You guys agreed, so I appreciate that. And I was actually proud to represent the city, so I appreciate you guys putting your faith in me. It was I guess you can't so much call it a curveball, but I guess I'm getting better at public speaking because I didn't expect the agenda to be not backwards, but shaped how it was. I expected there to be one discussion item. I would get up and make the city's point and plea and pitch. In essence, the response to my ask was answered before my agenda item came up. So that response was no. Our ask was that the Water District finance the fee. It was on their agenda, I guess, not twice, just one time. The second time was for the Water District to respond to our staff letter. I don't need to dig into that, and I made it very clear at the meeting that, sorry, I'm trying to talk to you guys on the public at the same time. I made it very clear at the meeting that I wasn't there to do any more, not anymore, but just to do any disparaging or tit for tat. I think that we could both, as a council and as a water district, continue to do that almost endlessly. I had some responses. There was a lot of things said in that meeting that I had responses right on the tip of my tongue, but I made a snap decision to not say them. And I think that the more we act like professionals, not saying that we haven't, not saying that they haven't, the better communication is. That arguing is already going to happen, right? There's 3 or 4 meetings. We have lawyers involved and litigation. Now, so I made the pitch. The pitch was to finance the fee. Their response to the pitch is that they feel that they're I don't want to say overextended, but they're extended to their limit. Their priority at this time is not financing the fee, but to their infrastructure. They feel like they had to spend money on that infrastructure. Now, I accepted that in the meeting. I said, look, guys, if that's what you're saying, because you have your staff, you're trusting your staff, that's what the answer is, I will accept that. Whatever our assessment is our assessment, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But I'll say this, I think the meeting actually went a lot better than people thought it was going to go. And I'll also say that the water district, the president reiterated that they are very much in support of the groundwater authority, and that they, even at an early point, have put effort, finance, they have an investment, and they want to see it succeed, was how I interpreted the comments. I also interpreted several comments from members of the board in such a way that they would have helped finance the fee were there, if they were in a different predicament, if they didn't have so much to do, if they didn't feel like they were as extended as they are. So I actually found that promising. I took that as a positive thing. Multiple, even the president, like, look, he said it, I think at least once or twice, said, look, the only reason we can't do this is because we're putting our money here. We can't put our money there, was how I took it. I don't know if you guys all got to watch it, but I think I'm just trying to sum up as best I can. There was a lot said. It was a long meeting. I took questions back from them. I think that's, you guys have questions to me. Is there anything I didn't answer? There's a few of you there. Solomon, I appreciate you being there. Eric, you were there. Peggy or Scott, do you have anything for me? I'm sure there's some stuff I left out. I actually have a few questions to bring up, but go ahead.
Well, was there much in the way of discussion on the adjudication?
There was some discussion. I'm glad you brought that up. They had their water district lawyer, I forget his name.
Jim Worth?
Jim Worth. He was present, and there was another consultant there to discuss adjudication. I won't go into the detail, interpret exactly what they said. They ran through, but did not explain why. I feel like that's worth pointing out. They didn't explain why the adjudication was filed, but they did walk through the steps and attempted to educate a bit on what's going on. There was some, I don't want to say, that's not true. There wasn't some stepping around, but there was certainly some blowing over what our staff pointed out to be, I think, so maybe our council can help me out. There's a certain portion in the adjudication that's, I think, is a prayer for.
It's the preliminary injunction.
Preliminary injunction, but no, there's
a prayer for a preliminary injunction. That was item number 5. The list of actions that they could request from the judge in the process of the adjudication.
Sure, and something I was going to mention, did we not already get our answer, was, hey, just so you guys, just so the public is aware, the city is aware that there's some consequences if, with the adjudication. It's not so simple as we want everybody to come to the table. There's consequences here, and the city council's not exactly happy about them. I didn't really get a chance to get those out into the air because at some point I didn't want to make it seem like I was arguing with the water district. I mean, they gave their answer and how they felt about it. It isn't like they don't know the consequences of their own adjudication, that they filed. So if they understand those consequences, then so be it, right? I'm not going to sit there and argue with them.
Kyle, one of the things that they said that surprised me was, as you recall, I kept asking I kept asking Keith why they would do this, understanding the consequences and knowing full well Keith could not answer why they would do it. And they responded that why they did it was to bring the Navy to the table.
The adjudication?
That's why
they did. Are we talking about the adjudication or the preliminary injunction?
That was why they did this.
Adjudication.
Yeah, they did say that. They definitely said they filed the adjudication to get Navy
to
the land.
I just want to add, I want to thank Kyle and Ms. Williams for going and being a representative of the city. And I think it's, from the city's perspective, it's important that we listen to what the water district has to say in their answers. I think we need to be looking at what do those answers mean. I mean, on one hand, if they don't have the money to finance, but it's going to be very costly to file the adjudication, that's money that they're going to be spending. I think it's important for the city to listen to that, to what the district is doing. But I think as a whole, we are obligated to look at the current status of the water supply for our constituents and the residents of this city, and to look at how things are in the current moment, but also in the future, and how are we going to be providing water for the city and for this valley, and to also be concerned about our growth, and to be aware of what we need to be doing as a city to make sure that we're looking into the future to provide a long-term water solution for the city.
Yeah,
and there is some give and take, and I agree that the tit for tat part, that could go on and on, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to, as a city, make sure that we're doing what we can to protect and ensure that we're going to have water for the future. So I think our focus needs to be continually looking at that. I don't want to it sounds selfish, what I'm saying, but that's our, that's our primary.
Well, I don't think it sounds selfish, and even in the preliminary injunction cites, the need is we need imported water. So what I came away from the meeting, no matter how people interpreted it, if you listen to what the lawyers had to say, and you listen to what the board had to say, nobody said directly back to me, Kyle, we don't agree with the city's position. That wasn't said at all. What I took away from it is we have other priorities right now. These are our priorities. We may not have racked and stacked our priorities the same as you, but we still believe it needs to be done. I had board members seem to agree with that. It's still the position of the city. We see it as more important right now. I brought that up, that water is getting more expensive by the minute. The quicker we get a hold of it, the better. I mean, there's no way we're losing out there. Right? We can talk about the other projects all day long, but I just don't see how any of them amount to much if you don't have in hand an entitlement. So I impressed upon that and our position on the city council, how we feel. I made it known. I took some questions. I took a little bit of a lashing here and there, which was okay. I was actually, and I mean this, I was proud to do it. Right? I'm proud to be on this council, and I think we do a good job of trying to present, in a united front. We can disagree, and I said that. I guess this is more anecdotal, but I said that. I understand that on their water board, they probably have their own internal politics and disagreements. We have our own internal politics and disagreements, and that's quite okay. It is very important to me that the citizens of Ridgecrest feel like these two major entities are rowing in the same direction. And I think if we get any kind of incongruencies where people don't feel that way, which we've seen propagated, not just in the media, but in social media, slew of misinformation out there. If we see those things putting out there, it's not good for the populace. It's not good for anybody to think that we're not all trying to work towards a common goal. We may disagree slightly here and there on how we're going to get there, but we'll get there. I think we will. So it was mentioned by every single water district board member that they wanted to work with the city. So I will say here publicly, I don't mind, and if you guys agree or even want to, we could ask a couple of us to sit down with the water district to, in that good faith gesture, keep things moving along. Maybe even Ricka, maybe you could even set up like a meeting or something. There could be two of us. We could just sit down and discuss whatever it is they want to discuss and however we see business moving forward. And of course, this would be an agreement with you guys and staff to make sure it's something we can do. But, if they're willing to keep a hand out, I think that we've all stuck our hands out at various opportunities. There's no reason why we can't at least let the public know that there's not some kind of deep animosity. That's something else I need to say. Things are being portrayed right now like there's a feud, like it's Mallory Boyd said it's like the Hatfields and McCoys, and I was thinking, wow, I guess I didn't see it as that intense. I understand there's some disagreements, but we all have pretty thick skin up here. Maybe it gets too thick at sometimes. Maybe we're too used to taking some of the flack that we take, and so I didn't see it as us having that big of a divide. So I think as a good faith gesture, we get together and we discuss what can be discussed and move forward in that vein. I don't know what you guys think.
Mayor, if I may, council members, I think that if the council is contemplating setting up a committee, for lack of a better word, or a couple of people to meet with board members, I think that item should be agendized for discussion at the next meeting.
Oh, so you think we should go back to the agenda, make sure we discuss it thoroughly if we're going to discuss
thoroughly in a public forum with
about what we're discussing?
No, I think it all has to hinge on you taking action.
Yeah, it's saying that we're gonna go out and have this meeting, allow public opportunity for public input and for discussion across
And
the committee.
Today on your agenda, setting up a committee or having council appoint people to meet with the district is simply not agendized.
I see what you're saying.
We agendize the discussion at the next meeting if
Sure.
take steps.
Okay, Paul, yeah, thank you for keeping us in line. I apologize.
Yeah, your comments are okay. It's just the setting of the meeting.
No, roger that. You are correct. Okay, so we will, maybe when we get to future agenda items, we'll bring that back up.
I think we're agreed on, I mean, is there any disagreement on bringing it back up to the agenda at the next meeting? I think that's consensus. So.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't have, I think I've brought it together as well as I can. I had a lot of 2 pages worth of notes to put out there. It's like the wind was taken out of my sails, so to speak. And I told them that. I was like, man, guys, you already just shut me right down. And I had so much to say. But honestly, that's okay because they said it all for me. They did. They made it clear to the public how they felt. That's okay. I made it clear to the public and the water district how I felt. I made it clear our stance. And I don't mind reiterating for a third time. I stand behind our staff. Right? I'm still going to keep doing that. That's a professional thing to do. I'm not going to back down from something like that. And I would hope that the water board does the same thing. They stand behind their staff.
And so, aside from the fact that they don't want to finance the imported water, were there any other main points that you got out of that meeting?
Points of contention.
Points or positions of the water district.
They seem to they made a lot of pitches towards the wastewater. That was a common theme. Wastewater. We want to discuss wastewater. Now, since you're I think I can ask you questions, or is it just comments?
I would say right now you're in comments because we're going to want to bring it back for a regular discussion. We're right on that. We're right on that edge right now between discussion and reporting.
Okay, well then I'm gonna make comments. You can consider them and answer them at some future time.
This would be reporting out on what
I'm still
points.
Right. That's why. But the discussion back and forth between you guys changes that dynamic.
I'm referring directly to the meeting and.
Sure, of course. Some of those comments that I can relay were, the water district, wanted to reiterate they were motivated to work on wastewater with the city, a wastewater project. They expressed a dissatisfaction with us not working with them on wastewater. So I think at some point I'm getting into conjecture here. I don't want to phrase.
You don't have to delve into it at all. Just
their comments. Let's see. What else did the water district? They were displeased with our staff report, our strongly worded staff report, and I took that, beating, and that was okay. I was happy to do it. Do you have anything, Solomon?
No, I like the way you supported the staff when they pointed something about that. You said, no matter what, you are going to support our staff. We might have some internal things to discuss, but at the outset, he wanted to support what the staff has done. So.
Yeah. I mean, if there was ever a problem with the staff, anybody who's been around in city government, and I've only been around for a few years, right? But if we have an issue with the staff, we go to our city manager, we discuss it in a closed session. That's handled professionally and that's never something that we would ever do in public. I think that's, and yeah, Mr. Griffin did say that. He said that, well, I would be making a motion to get rid of my, that's his opinion. That's fine. That's how he would do it. That's not how I would do it. And that's okay. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that I let the staff know, because I think that, if you're in any kind of leadership position, it isn't, nobody's going to have any faith in you if you're not trying to, show support where it's warranted.
Yeah. I think.
Go ahead. Do you have any other questions?
I think, as Kyle said, it is a positive meeting. So everybody said, let's put everything behind us and move forward with positive attitude. So that's what I got out of that meeting.
I said clearing the baffles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a clearing of the air. They had their go back at the city, and I think that was fine. That was good. That's healthy stuff. They said, we really are willing to work in good faith, and I was happy to hear that. It was a very positive meeting, actually. I think people expected it to be real contentious and negative, and it wasn't. It was the opposite of that. I think it was positive.
I concur. I think it was a good, positive meeting, and so
No doubt there were some fireworks.
yeah.
I was gonna say, I think I seem to remember there was some contention, but
No, there was but that was with you. That was later.
And I just want to add to that on behalf of the best interest of the city. I think it's important that we have future discussion on direction that the city wants when in pertaining to certain issues that you brought up about the meeting, that we continue as a city to address those issues and to look out for our best interests. So I think it's important that we have future discussions, agendized discussions of this.
We'll have a future agenda. Hold on to your butts. October 6th will be long.
And again, thank you, Kyle, for putting yourself in the hot seat.
No, so I was. I just want to reiterate that I was happy to do it. Yeah. I'll be happy to do it again. I think that you, as the groundwater rep, you take enough flack, enough spears, and I think that let's spread the wealth a little bit. That's what I'm trying to say. So
Good job.
I was proud to do it. Thank you.
Just reiterating, thank you, Kyle, for being the guy willing to stand up there and, regardless of what was going to happen, defend, talk about, or just be exactly what you were, which was a handout saying, let's stop the tick for tat. So it was appreciated. Any other boards, commissions, or committees reports? Okay. Next is city manager report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council. Just got 4 items. Just to let Council know, we plan on bringing a couple items concerning the American Recovery Act funds to the next meeting. We're going to be bringing forth a recommendation to allocate funding towards the Ridgecrest Visitors Bureau, as well as the purchase of a number of police vehicles. The reason to bring those forward before we discuss anything else, both these items meet the criteria of the ARP funding. Both of them have a need. One with the Ridgecrest Visitors Bureau, because they've taken such a hit with the loss of TOT over the last year, as well as their efforts towards putting together the Welcome Center. They really need this funding. I believe staff supports that. And the other issue with the police vehicles is just being able to put the order in for the vehicles, because if we don't get in queue, it's going to be a significant amount of time to be able to get those vehicles to the city. Next item is race. Mr. Reed and I are still negotiating with race. We do believe we are going to come to a resolution on that here fairly quick. They do plan to come to council for the presentation either the first or second meeting in October, so they can discuss in public what their plan is and introduce themselves. We also had our first meeting with Waste Management to renegotiate our solid waste agreement with them, as well as to develop plans for implementation of the SB 1383, the solid waste program. Meeting went well. We hope to have something to council in November for your consideration. Did meet with the fire chief this last week in discussing the fire contract. There is a concept in place for the city, if needed, to be able to reduce from 2 stations down to 1 station. I do have a meeting with the chief next month to discuss that further. So I'm hoping to have that contract to council, I would hope in January for that consideration. But the hope is that we at least have something in the contract that if financially we cannot afford fire service, can we retreat back, although that would be fairly significant to our community. I'm hoping to negotiate at least that option for the council's consideration. I can say that with all of the small contract cities involved in the contract process, and obviously the county CAO's office and the fire chief being involved, we have worked extremely hard to put together the best contract that we can at the best cost for the city. But regardless of whatever we did, it's still penciled out to a significant increase for all the small contract cities. So we're all in the same boat. So we're all looking to find ways of how we fund our fire future. So that is my update, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for him? Future agenda items. I know we have the water discussion. Is there any other future agenda items? No. Okay. I can say I don't think it has to be on this next agenda, but I know that Megan and I know Ron are working on details of that Clean California project, and I expect that we'll have something for discussion and direction from grant purposes coming, hopefully in the next couple months. Not immediately, but in the future.
I do believe we're looking at hiring California Consulting to help us put together the agreement or the grant application, and I do believe Narissa is bringing that to Quality of Life because there is a public involvement component in that. So we're going to try and get ahead of the game and at least get. I mean, staff has come up, I think, with a couple of concepts for that grant, but I think we'd like to vet our ideas through the Quality of Life Committee and through the public to be able to hone in on what we may ask for.
Anybody else hear that and just their blood pressure rise? Anybody else? Is it just me? I heard the shaking. I mean, a truck or something went by just behind us. I don't know if you heard it. But, I mean, I literally, my hands went right here. And I don't know if anybody else has that.
Are you okay?
I'm PTSD. I don't still, I'm just curious if everybody else has that immediate reaction. Sorry to interrupt you. But did you hear it? And I just instantly went, like, I just want to be able to push and dive. Sorry.
I remember there was a meeting not too long ago when we had a fairly significant quake during a meeting. Everybody just sat here, didn't want to move because we all knew we were on camera.
Yep.
You didn't want to be on the news.
If it helps,
didn't want to be on the news.
I'm diving.
We were pretty hardened at that time.
Right. And I'll tell you, there was no way you were going to get me on video diving underneath the desk, not unless something was actually falling on top of me. Not in part of that video.
You ever want to see a big guy move fast? I promise you it'll happen. Okay. Mayor and council comments. We'll start with Ms. Peggy and we'll go this way.
I know Republican women are meeting not this coming Friday, but the following Friday, and Supervisor Peters is going to be there. Is it appropriate and not appropriate? Will he be able to answer questions regarding the fire stations at that time? Do you know?
I do not believe that is at his level yet.
Okay.
Anything else?
I just want to welcome Martin tonight, and good job. So we're pleased to have you with us.
I'm very glad to be here. Thank you very much, all of you.
Simon?
I attended the chamber virtual luncheon. So there was a presentation by City Manager Mr. Strand and Public Works Director Mr. Reed. So that was very informative. I had good feedback from some of the chamber members. So we are communicating. We are telling the public what we are doing. So I really appreciate your presentation at the chamber luncheon. Thank you.
Mr. Blades?
No comments.
Boy, you spend so much time thinking about whether or not you're going to say it. If you ever want to understand a distinct difference, there it is, right there. I lead with my mouth. So I just again want to reiterate the incredible support of our community coming out for the Parade of 1,000 Flags. It was just that's what Ridgecrest is, and it's so prideful. It's such a filling event of what we do as a community. Iowa VDC, CERT, News Review, man, you guys are the heart. I can't say enough. As regards to the water, certainly entertaining. I was, me and Solomon were on mute in the back of the room. For anybody who knows, there was no communication, no discussion, no Brown Act, no Green Act, no nothing. We were citizens there, sitting there at the back of the room listening and or being yelled at. I want to thank the public that came out and shared their comments. I understand that there's passion behind different people's opinions. I just want to ask again, everyone out there who's passionate, either in a communication, in social media, in an email, in a video post, in any other thing, your passions are not a problem. It's when your passions bleed over to being disrespectful or being aggressive to others that it changes from being passion to being that borderline between respectful and non-respectful. And I think that there were moments of that, but it was a very pleasant process to make good on those and to have peace and resolution at the end of it. And I think that was what really came out of it is again, I state the 5 people up here, and I know the 5 people over there, all 10 of those individuals that went through election processes to get into that seat, I promise you they are only out to serve the best interests of this community first and foremost. All 10 of those people without question. They may have differing opinions on how to get there, but they all have Ridgecrest at heart, and that's what really matters. And it was good to get all that out. So with that, I'm good. It was a fun week. We'll see you guys in October on the 6th, and we should have a good meeting. Please stay healthy. Please stay safe. Do what's right for you. Do what's right for your community, and we'll see you in October.